Hello all, good morning, good evening or good afternoon based on wherever you are. It's been a while, I'm a little bit busy with some stuff, but I hope you're enjoying the BC Open quiz. If you haven't seen it, head up to my Instagram and see. There's a question about Business Central every day that gets posted there, and if you're interested to kind of rebrush your concept about basics Business Central, head up and try to answer those questions. But okay, coming back to what we are going to talk about today. So I recently received a request on LinkedIn and I was surprised that I had never talked about it. So thought talking about it. So there's a concept of unbound action in Business Central and we'll get to it. Before that, let's understand what these actions are. So I'm pretty sure you have enjoyed the API series that we did earlier. It's available in the YouTube channel and we talked about bound actions. Now this video is not about bound actions, but I'll just give you a brief summary of what bound actions is so that you understand the concept of it. So let me open Business Central API source code. Now when you access standard Business Central API, and we have talked about all these different endpoints, bound endpoints in this video, so go ahead and watch it. The link will be in the pinned comment and the description of this video. On the pages that Microsoft have added in the API, and if you create your custom endpoint, API endpoint, you can also add bounded action. Now this is a typical bounded action. Now what this allows you to do, it allows you to post, and in this case it is coming from purchase invoice. So you can actually post a purchase invoice by calling this bound action. Now what is bound and what is unbound? So bound is which is associated with a specific record or an entity. Now in this case, the post method, which is a bound method, is associated with the purchase invoice record that is going to be posted by calling this bounded action. But if I take you back in history, in NAV or even in earlier versions of Business Central, there were web services of type SOAP. Now, when you think about web services in Business Central or NAV back then, web services allowed you to add different objects, pages, query, and also some code units. So you can add code units into your web services, and using the SOAP, which is this URL, you are able to utilize those to call those code units using web services. Now, as we all know, APIs, especially web services, especially SOAP, is kind of going away, and Microsoft is moving everything toward ODataV4 or APIs. So that piece of the equation was missing. That how you kind of call something which is not related to a record or which is not bounded to a record. And that's where the unbound actions come into place. Before we start, the source code of this video will be available on GitHub on this repo. I'll be updating it as we go through it. And here is a Microsoft link about it. You don't have to take a note of it. Again, available on the pinned comment and the description of this video. So here, let's see what Microsoft is saying. Unbound action represent reusable operation that you can perform using OData requests. So earlier it was only available with the SOAP request in NAV and initial versions of Business Central. Use unbound action when there is no particular entity that has an action need to bound to. So there is no purchase order or sales order or anything like that where it need to bound it to. How you do that? This is used to migrate from SOAP to OData. So if you have some SOAP web services which are helping you to kind of execute some operations without attaching to an entity, then this article or this process helps you to move that from SOAP to OData. One common use case of using SOAP endpoint with Business Central is expose AL method to be callable as a web service. The same thing can be achieved with the unbound action. Now we'll come to this and we'll understand it. Hopefully the difference between bound and unbound action is clear, and the missing piece of SOAP, which was available in web services, is available now with OData Unbound Action. So should we get started? Yeah, let's get started. So as we start about it, a humble request: if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. It helps us to understand how we are doing. Do we need to change how we are doing things, or keep it as it is? If you have any suggestions, add it into the comments. Let's go ahead. Okay. So it says first is to declare, then to register, and then to publish the unbound action. 3 activities altogether, and we'll be doing all of them. The first is to declare. To declare an OData unbound action, define a code unit with the procedure that you want with the desired business logic. Now here is some example, and I may not go that hard, but let's keep it simple and try to make some unbound actions. So let's create a new code unit. Okay, new file, and let's call it something. Okay, let me do a new file and let me call it as, or is there not a wizard? There should be a wizard. Okay, let's do a new file, and let's call it as SDH, which is my prefix, not registered. I'm just using it for YouTube videos. If you're not have registered a prefix as a partner or as a ISV, do register with Microsoft. It's important. Let's create a new code unit. Okay, and we'll call it as okay, the same name. Okay, and this becomes SDH OData API. Okay, it kind of my Copilot is supporting me. People do ask me what it is. It's just a Copilot, GitHub Copilot that's kind of sitting here, which is suggesting me based on it learns from my pattern. So first, let's write a simple procedure. So let's do a procedure, and I'm not. Should I keep it local? Maybe. Let's try that. And I'll call it as get welcome message. Okay. And this function returns a text. Now anytime this function is called, this should return an text statement. And let's do exit welcome to unbound API or unbound OData API. Okay, so whenever this method will be called, and I'm not sure about the local piece, but we'll figure it out, it should return welcome to unbound OData API. Now let's come back. So we are done with the first piece, which is declaring that. Now let's talk about registering it. To register and publish the code unit as web service, you have to publish the extension, and then you have to publish the web service. Now I would like to attach that web service to my extension, so that in any case, if I remove the extension going forward, I'm able to kind of remove the web service automatically. And if you don't know it, you just follow it here. I'll create a file called webservices.xml, and here I'll try to let me see, I should have notes about the header about it. Okay, here's the header that you need to use, and you can do it manually from the client if you want. And here is my Copilot, which is suggesting me something. Let's see what it is doing. So it says web services, and then inside that you define the tenant web service collection. This is a specific node that need to be in the same way. And in the tenant web service collections, okay, first the inner node should be tenant web service, just to be very clear, and the parent node should be tenant web service collection. If you attach your web services like this, then it kind of makes it easier when you uninstall your extension. The web service also goes away, and I'm just using a tag over here, and I'll be closing it here. Okay, I think Microsoft Link should have it. Let's see. Publish a web service. There should be a way that they have defined it here. No, they haven't. Okay, not a problem. But this is the way that you can do that. Okay. Here, my web service first would be object type. So I should change this to object type, object ID, and then I need to set some parameters. So here it is. Okay. So I'm saying I want to publish a web service of type code unit 50001. Okay. And I would like to call this as SDH OData API, and I would like it to be published. So as soon as I publish this extension, this will automatically get published. So let me just add permissions to it. Okay. Okay, let's keep it as it is. Okay. So I have the permissions in place and I have everything in place. So I should be good to go and publish this. This is the second part of registering and publishing the code unit as web services, which we are done. Now you need to verify web service availability. Now, if you are on-prem, you need to make sure that your web services are on. If you are on cloud, they're surely on by default, and we can go ahead and test out this. To call a specific procedure on a code unit, use the base OData URL for this code unit and the procedure name separated by an underscore. So from an API perspective, it becomes a post method. You need to give the base URL, which is the service name, and then the procedure name. Okay. We all know if you're on cloud, then you use OAuth. If you're on-prem, you still have ways to kind of use username, password, basic auth, right? And then this is kind of you post it, and then this is how you get the response. Okay, we'll test that. Okay, we are here in our environment. Let me go to head up and web services page and see did my thing got published or not. So let me filter. Oh, here it is. So as I publish the extension, this automatically added this and it's published. But if you look at it, it says the ODataV4 URL is some random URL. If you click on it, it'll bring you to this page, the same page where you are. So now let's think about it, how we kind of bring that URL into picture. So if I click on SOAP, I get my HTTPS API Business Central, my tenant ID, tenant name, web services and all. So let me just copy this and open Postman. Okay. So here we are popping up the Postman now. Okay. Okay, I need to find out the collection where I can do that. Okay, here it is. Okay, so first I would like to prepare the URL. So my URL becomes api.businesscentral.dynamics.com. This is for cloud, and let me see if I can zoom this. Yes. Then my version of API, then my tenant ID, and then the environment name. And then if I want to see all the OData, I need to type in ODataV4, and this should show me all the OData endpoint that I have. Oh, the client credentials are not working. So let me go and refresh my token. Okay. Okay, use token. Let's go back here. Now this should list down all my OData. This is listing down something else. Does it contain my SDH thing? Let's search for it. No, it does not. So this is my standard URL for it, and I should be able to check the metadata, because the metadata is where you see all the stuff about your endpoint. Okay, now I see thing. Let's do SDH open. I still don't see it. That's odd. This should show me, because I'm doing a get of SDTH my API endpoint, version, tenant ID, environment name, ODataV4 and metadata, and it does not show me. Let me see the web services. The web services is SDH OData API. Okay, nothing found. A little bit odd. Should try to get and show me all that. Okay, so let's try without this. What all OData comes in? This is just a list of all standard OData API endpoints, but I don't see the one that I'm looking for. Okay, no worries. Let's go back to the Microsoft article and try to follow what they are saying. Okay, so they are saying that then you go into your post, make it a post. Okay, let's do this post and then use the ODataV4 which we are using. Is it case sensitive? I don't know. Okay, let me see. Nothing changes. Okay, service name, which is my code unit name, or my endpoint, which is this. So let me just copy this and paste it here, and then it says the next thing that you need to add is underscore, which is a fixed character kind of thing, and then the procedure name that you have written. So let's look at the procedure name. Our procedure name says get welcome message. So now if you switch back and try to fetch this, okay, resource not found for the segment. It should be found because I guess I'm doing everything correct at this point. Okay, SDH OData API and get welcome message, and this is pointing to Sandbox, and I guess I have also published on Sandbox. Let me see. On Sandbox, and this is okay. Let me see what it does. Alright, let's see the metadata of this file, and it says it is okay. Nothing at this point. Oh, this is just downloading everything, so I should be able to search. Nope. Okay, let me try to unpublish and publish this. Okay, publish this again. Okay, let's try it again. Not found. Okay, let me see that. Okay, so let's give it a try. Let me see what I oh, this is local, and maybe that's causing the problem. So let's try this. Let's remove this. Let's try to publish this and see what happens. I should not have tried with the local one for sure. Maybe that's the issue, because it needs to be accessible externally, and hopefully that's the reason. But let's have a check. Okay, this got published. Web service would have got published already. Let me go back to Postman, and now let me see the SDH first, the ODataV4 tag. Okay, it brings up something. SDH, no. Let's try the metadata. Okay, oh, now we got it. So because it was local, it was not able to be accessed from outside. So a new learning for me also. that you can't keep them as local. Now the metadata tells me that there is an action available, unbounded action for sure, for this method defined in this particular API endpoint. So now what I can do is I can just remove this and call my endpoint with the post. As I do send, okay, here I see the message that the welcome to Unbound OData API. Nice. A simple test which seems to be working, but we should be doing other things with it. Is it just that? There are other things that we can do with it. Can I kind of read the data? Can I call different methods and then do that? Let's test it out. So let's go back to BC, and here let's create another procedure. And now we know we can't create local procedures. Okay, so let's say get item description. Okay, or let's say get first item description, and I'll return as text. Let's create the basic code, which is item, which is record item, and then here let's do if item dot find first, because it can be empty in a company, right? Find first, then exit item dot description. So the idea is that'll return me the item description. So let's go ahead and publish this, and now we should be able to call, as we did call the get welcome message, to get first item description. Okay, so this seems to be published. Let's go back to our postman, and first let's change this to get the metadata to see is it reflecting here or not. Okay, and now let's search here, SDH. Okay, so I have another method called get item description. Okay, simple enough. I should be directly able to call this and get my item description. There's an error. Now it says you must choose a company before you can access the item table, which makes complete sense, because item table is the table associated with a company, so I can just randomly check that in. So what we do in APIs is we append a company parameter somewhere here. So let's do that. Okay, let's try doing company, and then I need the GUID for my company. So okay, let me, or I should be able to do it here. Let me remove this and let me do a get of company. Okay, so I have the company. I'll just pick the company ID that I want the item information from this company, and that should work as it works in APIs. So let's do a send. There is an error in the syntax. Now there's something wrong that I'm doing, and we need to understand how we do it. So in context of API, we pass company like this, but when in context of ODataV4 endpoint, you can't pass company as the way you pass it in APIs. You need to pass company as a parameter. How you can do that? Let's try doing that. On the same request, if I come to the parameter tab, add the parameter which I need, and then I copy the value of the company ID and paste it here. This gives me access to that company. So it's a part of the parameter that I'm passing, and as you can see, it get added with a question mark at the end of my request. So when I do a send now, it should say, oh, this is not a get, this should be a post. Okay, so it tells me that my first item name is Ethan's desk. That's available in my system. Okay, so that works. You can also kind of add that company into the header of your request if you need it. Like, instead of doing this, you can just add it here either on parameters or header of your request, whatever works for you. So you can then now work with it in this way. But now let's see, we only did a very basic set of functions with it. Let's try doing something where we can pass a parameter to it, as in the external service is passing a parameter. Let's say I'm writing a procedure to get my item inventory. In this case, I'll be passing item number as code, and I'll be getting in return a decimal. Let's copy the var here. Okay, and let's do if item dot get item number, then exit the inventory that's there. But inventory is a flow field, we all know, so I'll have to kind of bake this in here and do a item dot set auto calci field for inventory. Okay, so this should return me this, or otherwise if the item is wrong, then I would like to return exit 0, which is not correct, but alright, it's correct because I can only return decimal at this point. So let's publish this and we'll see how the parameters works with it. Because that becomes important, that you need to understand that in scenarios where you're trying to get things out of it, can you get it or not? So right now we'll be passing the, let's check the metadata again before we move any further on it. Okay, let's do a $metadata. Okay, and I should get the metadata here in any moment, and I can look at this now. So I still get item description in this because is my app not published yet, which is surprising. Oh no, it got published. So let me refresh this. Okay, I get first message, welcome message, and no, I still haven't got my new action. Did I make it local? Did I make the mistake? Yes, I did. Sorry. Okay, so let me publish this again and make sure. Now I guess you would have learned from my mistake that any unbound action should not be tagged as local. You can surely have supported function if you are writing a code that is returning you the value, but anything that you would like to expose as an OData unbound action can be consumed by API, make sure that it is global. Okay, and for some reason I did something completely wrong. Okay, it doesn't take that long to publish an extension, which have nothing at this moment, to be very fair. Okay, so this got published. Let's come back here. Let's do a send. Always check the metadata. It helps you to understand where things are going. So now you can see that there is an SDH OData API get inventory. Okay, so I'll paste back my URL as it is. Oh no, my bad. Okay, get item inventory. Hopefully there is something saved. No, get item inventory. And then I'll also have to first get the company. I kind of forgot about it. It's a get, and then here I get the company as parameter, and not this. This becomes my company ID. Okay. Let's copy this as it is and then append that here on ODataV4 is what I'm calling. Okay, so I'm now calling this, and then the get inventory is being called, and then this is not this is actually this. Okay, so let's try to do a send. Oh, There's no get, it's post. When I do a post, it says at least one parameter is required for this action. Okay, that makes sense. Let's go into the body, into the raw part, and let's define the parameter that I need. The parameter that I need will be defined here, and that is called item number. Okay, so let's wrap this in and pass an item number. What does my item number look like? One of the items that I have which have inventory is important, so let's pick 1396 because it has 100 inventory at this moment. Okay, let's copy this and let's try to pass this in the body. Okay, it seems it's not valid, so again I'll go back into a new tab this time so that I don't miss out this again, and I'll do a post of metadata. Okay, it kind of loses it after a while. Okay, token. Let's come back here and let's try to do a send. Come on. Inherit from parent, everything looks good. Okay. Because non save it collection. Okay, just I need to save it. Okay, let me save this from custom API. Okay, so now when I try to fetch the metadata here and I try to search for SDH open OData API, I see when I'm getting inventory, the parameter name is actually I small as item number. And that's very important. Even in your nav, you have given it this, it automatically converts it to the cases that's supported, right? So now if I do a send, it should return me the inventory of 1936 S as 0. Okay, that doesn't make any sense because I did saw the inventory of it and it was 100. So what I'm missing here? Okay, should I be passing it, because I need to pass it in a way that it kind of responds it and then returns me the value that I'm looking for, right? So I'm passing it as like this item number, and what is the code that I've written? I can be bad at code sometime. To say that item dot get, and then oh, maybe this is outside. Oh, sorry. Okay, calc fields. Okay, my mistake. Okay, so now I'm getting into this and it's going to publish any moment, and we should be able to get 100 as an inventory value out of it. So let's do a send now. It's 100. And if I call a item weird as 123, which does not exist in the system, you'll get return as 0. So you can use parameters while you are making the request to it. Now let's try something which is a little bit trickier rather than the simple ones, because we did try to return text, we did try to return decimal, that all seems to be working. Let's try something, and I already have a code written, so I'll just copy paste it to save time. Can it return list? What I'm saying, that call this method to get item list, and this will return you a list of code 20 which will have all the items into the system. Because this is important to know before you start implementing this, that what it supports and what it does not, because there are certain return types which are specifically basic return type which are supported with the unbound actions that are there, and there are some which are not supported. So if you do get item list via Postman right now, and let's do that. And if you guys need the collection of Postman, let me know. I'll create it again and I'll show it to you. Save it in the same repo somewhere. Okay, let me know into the comments. So when I do a send, it's making the call and says resource not found for get item list, and it does exist if you look at it here. So there is get item description, and let me see. No, that does not exist because that return method is not supported. Okay, hopefully that's the case. Let's try something else on the similar lines. So I add another procedure, and this time I'm trying to return as text. But what's happening inside this is that it is baking in a JSON object from the item table, and then it is writing it back to the text. So I should be getting number, item number, and item description for the item that is being requested. So let's try to publish this and see how it works. Because if you are trying to implement this in a way that there are some limitations or some things that are not yet supported, you need to kind of be aware about it. Otherwise you go far into implementation and then you understand that, oh, this kind of return type or things that I cannot return gets a little bit trickier at that point. So this is my get item JSON. I'll just bake this in here to get my item JSON with it. So this becomes my SDH OData. Okay, and let me use this so that I can just replace the function name here. Okay. Oh, sorry, I did it twice, I guess, for some reasons. Okay, I'm trying to fetch the JSON out of it, and it does. Oh, sorry, it just should be getting me the. Oh, I need to have a parameter. So let's put the parameter as we did earlier time into the camel case, item number. I should be binding it in an object if I'm not wrong, and then passing the value to it. The value that I'll be passing is one of the item that we have, right? Let's use the same item. Okay, let's do a send, and this time if you look at it, this is how it responds to you. You can't directly pass and return JSON out of it, because if I change the parameter here to not to return kind of return the JSON object altogether, and let's try that out, the last thing I guess maybe. Okay, and I say it's not returning text, it is actually returning the JSON object. When I'm baking in the object here, I should be able to see, does the same method now available in my unbound action list of OData once it gets published? Because the method name is same, everything else remains same, we just are returning a different set of object. So now if I go to our metadata thing, where is my metadata thing? Okay, let me just bake it in here for a while. $metadata, no need of parameters. Let's do a send. Okay, SDH. So if you look at it, I don't see that method. I only see get first item description, get in inventory, get welcome message. So as of today, the unbound actions that you can create will only return you the basic data types. The complex return type like JSON payload or list or anything else, arrays, will not work for it at this moment. But if you have any other suggestion that I need to test it out, just let me know into the comment section. I'll not record the video for it, but I'll make sure that I add it into the code library that we are making for it. Now, the way we kind of try to process JSON, where we are converting it to a text and then sending it, that'll be possible. But then how you'll be able to use it, it's a little bit difficult. Does it work on-prem? Yes, it does work on-prem and cloud. So there's no problems with it. Remember that this only works with ODataV4 endpoint and not with the API endpoint. So if you try this with the API, you'll not be able to do it because API has a structure which is not available for code units right now. So with APIs, you can either do a page or a query object, whereas if you have to do an unbound actions like this, then you have to use the ODataV4. And I'll be surprised if sooner than later Microsoft brings code units into APIs, but till then you can utilize this. Okay, before I let you go, let's try one more thing, the last thing. So we have the web services as we saw, right? And let me just pop it in again, because I'm pretty sure there will be questions around it. So if you look at it, the code unit web services 5001 exists. Now I'm going into my extension management and I'm just removing the extension that we built today. Okay, so here it is, and let's do an uninstall of this. I'll delete the extension data, and that's gone. And let's go ahead and unpublish this also. Okay, now let's go back to the same page, web services. Okay, if I filter this list by object type code unit, just to keep it simple, you'll not see that code unit because that code unit was part of the extension that I built in. And the beauty of doing it that way is whenever you remove your extension, the associated web services that are part of your extension also goes away. Okay, so before I let you go, let's do some key learnings that we had. If you have SOAP scenarios which you are stuck because you cannot call methods from like you were able to do in SOAP, OData API unbound actions are there for you. The ODataV4 API, ODataV4 unbound action will only work with ODataV4. They'll not work with APIs. All the procedure that you would like to expose in the ODataV4 should be public, should be global, not local functions. The basic data types are returned when called from OData. Complex data type are as of today are not supported, and I'll be surprised if they get supported into the future. You can do add parameters. I'm pretty sure you can add multiple parameters if needed to do your thing in BC and then return the output to it. So at this point, I think that's all I know, and that's all is available on Microsoft. Sorry for the delay. I knew this topic for a while, but somebody pinged me today, so that's why I'm doing it. You know the drill. If you like the content, hit the like button. If you think this is something that your colleague or your friend would be asking or should know about it, do share it. At least share it with one person. And if you haven't, then please do subscribe to the channel. I'll see you sooner than later in some of the things that I've left half, and we'll complete those sooner than later as I get some time. But hopefully you enjoyed it, and let me know your views into the comments. Thank you. Have a nice day.